and here it is.
How do I make this? Oh, please, please, God, someone, please. Let me do this, let me do this, let me do this. Yes! 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 No! No! No!
Welcome back to the Talos of Tech podcast. Spring Loaded just happened. I am so split down the middle. Did you guys watch it?
Do not mind the.
I know I did.
Don't mind the sunglasses or the sunburn. It's from all that fire that Apple was dropping today, and I am collateral damage of the burn I got.
Is that what that was?
Oh, goodness.
I just thought it was a steaming hot pile of. Never mind.
You didn't like it?
Disappointment.
No.
I liked parts of it. I didn't like other parts of it.
I liked most of it. It just going into this, if you would have gave me a list of everything and you didn't show me anything, but you gave me a big list of text that said what was going to be unveiled at this event, I would not have expected the iMac to be the worst part.
Oh, totally.
I definitely would have thought that would have been at the top of my list going into this of like, oh, that sounds amazing. I can't wait to see the new iMac. And now that the event's happened, that's on the very bottom for me. That's like the worst part.
Is it on the list still for you, Drew?
List of, I guess, if I had to rank everything at the event from best announcement to worst announcement, iMac's on the bottom of the list for me. Just because of the chin, the white bezels, the colors, the I/O. I don't know how they could have done this worse, to be honest.
Honestly. Yeah. Well, I think we should probably start where Apple started.
Okay.
In the color blobs of nothingness, and then this fast little line that's just spinning through Apple Park, which is nice. I don't hate that. It was nice. FPV cinematic drone shot, very springy. Got like the flowers, close up on the flowers. Didn't see any pot plants though. I was looking, but
he was paying close attention.
No watch
It is
bands.
California.
No
Was
watch
there no
bands.
watch bands?
No,
I didn't see no watch bands.
They didn't talk about it.
My
Maybe
God.
it's on the website.
There was no good morning.
I know.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, that's
hello
gone.
with the huge words "hello" behind him. Hello.
Yeah, that's-
Thank you for
that's
joining
gone.
us, Tim Cook, Timothy Donald Cook. I have one request. Dare I say?
Did somebody say Donald?
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, I would say the best good mornings. All the good mornings would come from me. The best. Quite frankly, all the mornings are good mornings if the Donald was to introduce keynotes. We got some new products. Some great big products. Really exciting products, folks. Believe me. Believe me.
Believe me. I also just want to say I, for the longest time, was expecting the M1 to come to the iPad. And so many people did not believe me.
I didn't either.
So many
This,
were like,
I
no.
was
this
like, there's
is
no way
all
they're
but
going to
confirmed.
convolute
We
that
are
branding.
getting those applications now of Logic and Final Cut. That is absolutely coming.
100%.
You think it's confirmed?
Yes.
You would use that term?
I
Wow.
would bet. I'm not going to bet my eyebrows, but I will.
I was going to say, be careful there.
OnlyFans?
OnlyFans?
How about an OnlyFans?
Listen, I don't know what people. Well, my OnlyFans don't need an OnlyFans. But anyway, but yeah, I absolutely think the software is coming now. That all but confirmed it right there.
You think they're saving it for quadruple UDC?
It is a software event.
It is a software
true.
event. That's my hope here because iPad Pro, aside from the lack of software announcements, was, I think, my favorite part of the event. I'm trying
Really?
to think of what else.
No, absolutely. The best part was the new Apple TV remote.
Oh, totally. Oh, my. Actually, my
I don't know
favorite.
if I'd rank that as better.
12
That's the best
It was
thing to
good.
happen since sliced bread. And then before sliced bread, this is the best thing since grabbing bread by the hand. Yeah, it's this controller. So the thing
I'll
is,
tell you why. Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say that because I use my Apple TV, if I can pair the new controller, yeah, I do use it. If I
see.
compare the new controller
That's different.
to the old TV, that's just HD, then I'll just buy the controller and I'll be a happy goose. But
Goose.
Happy goose.
Wow,
be a happy
never heard
goose.
that term. I've been happy. I've been a happy dumpling before, but not a happy goose. So
Dumpling.
my favorite
like the remote?
product from this whole event though had to be the Thanos Phone Mini. That was like
Oh yeah, purple.
Cannot wait
That was
for
my
that.
wife's favorite part. I just showed it to her, and she was like, "That looks awesome. I love that."
I love it too.
And then I showed her the iMac, and she said, "That looks like garbage." She hates it. I showed it to her. I was like, "You want to see the new iMac? They just announced it." And I'd been all day this morning. We were talking about it. I was like, "There could be new iMacs at this event, and I've been telling you for a while. This might be the one I upgrade to, or something like this one." And then I was like, "Here it is," and she was like, "What's wrong with it?"
What's wrong with it?
She thought there was like a color filter, like a reverse filter on the phone, like the remember before dark mode and we had the smart
night
invert?
shift? Yeah.
She was looking at it. She was like, "What? That's it?" She was very disappointed, and she wasn't even that excited.
Wow.
But the remote was everything I asked for. It's like they legit watched the video. They
Yep.
saw my complaints about the Siri remote and directly were like, "Let's fix all
This one's
those
for Drew.
problems." in one
Doesn't
upgrade."
charge with USB-C though.
That was my one. That was why I was going to say it's not my favorite.
Oh,
it was like
okay.
it was close. It was almost flawless. Aside from it
This
still
doesn't
charges
charge
with
with
lightning.
USB-C either. The new ones I looked.
No,
Nope.
it doesn't.
They
They
do
did not update the. Nothing got USB-C that had lightning before,
This is true.
unfortunately. But the other thing I don't. The reason Siri remote is not top of my list is because the Apple TVs themselves are kind of dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not impressed by the boxes getting upgraded. They gave it an A12 chip, which is not even that much better than the A10X. It's like I would argue to call it a side grade, not an
Side
upgrade.
grade.
It's like it got a different chip. Is it a
Not the
better
same
chip?
one.
There's nothing wrong with the Apple TV that I have right now, which is why I don't need to upgrade it. But I would like to get the remote because it fixes the problem of having a universal, just a singular remote.
Yes,
No.
So
they have sold a solution.
they have sold a solution.
As they often do. But don't you have to have a special kind of TV that supports HDMI power on for that power on feature? I remember doing a little bit of digging
I'm-
on this back in 2018, but
The
technology's changed
Roku
since then.
device doesn't require that if you just got it. That the Fire TV that I had didn't require that for the TV itself to turn on, and I was able to control it through those controllers as well. In fact, there was nothing wrong with my Fire TV. It just died one day. I was like, well, crap.
Well, that would be something
Well, that's
wrong
something
with
that's wrong.
Yeah, that's
Nothing's wrong other than it not working.
except that it's there's everything wrong with it now. But the TV itself is not the deciding factor of a remote control because the other controllers are working fine for my LG. So that's something.
Might be old TVs don't do it, but
Oh please.
most modern TVs do.
What
I recall
TV
a
were they
time when
using
people were saying-
when they were showing that off? Because that TV looks perfect at the equal bezels.
yeah.
I was really hoping that she was like, she was talking about the A12Z chip and the color balance, and she's like, and so
No, just A12, not even the Z.
not even the Z. Oops, yeah, A12.
No.
Yeah, my 12 kind of looked like a Z when I glanced at it. I should write more neatly. Yeah, so I was like, she was like, yeah, and you know, we've refined the interface and made it even. And I was like, oh, here comes, they're making a TV, and that thing that's behind her has been the TV the whole time, and it was a remote, and I was like, oh, bummer. Okay, well, no pretty TV.
They even brought that up. They were like, now it can be confusing when other third-party smart TVs don't have these Dolby Vision features. I was like,
That's the
so make one.
So make one. Why haven't
That's
you
right,
made
Just
one yet?
why can't you do that? No, we can only do the box. We can't make the screen itself.
it's
That's
too
too complicated.
Very.
Too much. I
But-
like the pacing of this event, though.
Oh, totally. It was moving fast.
Yeah, it was
an
real
hour and
quick.
10 minutes, right?
No Craig
An hour
Figure
and-
80, 0
Just
out of
an
10.
hour.
I wasn't happy.
I do
No
remember.
Craig.
Yeah, no Craig.
I was
0
hoping when the burglar took his mask off,
Yes!
it was going to be Craig
Yes!
underneath.
Or Tom Cruise.
Just Tim.
It
Or
was
Tom
just
Cruise, yeah. Just Tim, which was equally as funny to just see the mask come off and he's just
He's just like,
has his
Why are
default
you stealing
face,
your own
know?
product? You're the boss. You could do this.
Right.
that didn't make any sense.
I thought they were going to announce Windows support for the M1 when they were like, but some people want to use the M1 that aren't on the Mac.
But we
And then
didn't
it cut to
stop
the burglar.
there.
And I was like,
when we cut to
is
the
that Steve
burglar,
Ballmer?
I thought they were going to make a Steve Ballmer or like an Intel joke somehow. I was waiting for the Intel reveal. When that guy busted into the room, I was like, oh, is this the Intel lab? And I was like, oh, it's just
Justin
another.
Long.
Just another. Yes. He rips his face off. It's Justin Long.
Justin Long, and he goes, ooh, an M1. Nice.
No, better idea. The robber scene, the whole bad guy motif. He is the PC guy, and he's running through with his, and then he rips off his face, and it's Justin Long.
Perfect.
See,
I guess Tim works too.
Tim works.
That'd be
too.
fine.
I mean, I would have been more happy if it was Craig.
Yeah, that's true. Craig should have been there. He'll probably dominate at Quadruple U DC. I bet that'll be like the Craig event, or it better be.
So.
But did you guys catch or understand much of the podcast subscription announcement? Because I am still confused by it. I don't understand it.
So from what I can tell,
I don't think. In regards to what you were pointing out, like we would not benefit from switching to that directly because our ads won't run then.
Yeah, we will.
Well, that's what I'm confused by.
Our ads are done with our platform, though, Nick, isn't it?
So from what I could tell, it looks like our RSS feed will be the default, and then any additional content that you want to upload without the ads is through the Podcast Connect portal, and that's where you have to pay the subscription for. Because it looks like RSS feeds are still allowed, and our ads are run through an RSS provider, and so I don't know. I'm really confused.
Basically,
yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm really scared also because my Podcast Connect, the thing that connects all of the audience, everyone listening to this, with our RSS server, the account that manages that is not working at the moment. So
I'm sure it's because I'm not worried about that. I'm sure that's just
I hope so. I hope so. But I've heard of people just losing their entire shows because iTunes Podcast Connect.
Looking at context, something podcast related was announced today. They're doing something right after the event. This totally makes sense.
I still don't like it.
It's like the Apple Store being down, basically.
Except it's just it's redirecting in the circle, and I'm just sitting there like, don't delete the show. Anyway,
well, to be fair, all those episodes are dated now.
Super dated.
Who needs to listen to them, right? All that's yesterday's news.
That's right.
Okay.
So we'll start fresh.
There's only pre-420 and post-420, and today's 420.
Wow.
So, Nick, you need some 420 in your life and chill out, man.
No.
You need some Elon Musk, Joe Rogan experience and go,
Well, if I'm understanding this correctly, Nick, would this potentially mean that on the iTunes version, the Apple version of podcasts, we could upload ad-free versions of our podcasts and put them behind a paywall that people could subscribe to?
That's what I understood that whole announcement as. But I can't get
that's
to any of this.
I feel like we could benefit from.
Yeah,
if that's how it works.
Watch how quickly nobody stays to listen to us.
I can't get to any of the support documents. Like the whole website's just garbage at the moment. So
no, I'm not saying making our podcast a paid only. I'm against that.
No.
I want all the Telosa podcasts to be free. It's the same thing as YouTube. It's free with ads, and then come up with some intuitive way of doing ad free if you support us more directly. The closest thing we have to that is YouTube. If you do YouTube Premium, we get revenue from that if you watch, and there won't be ads. So if there was an equivalent of that on the podcasting app, that's something we could actually set up and utilize. Although I don't know, are we allowed to set the prices for that? Or?
I don't know.
They're not being very clear on it.
I'm miffed at this. Like I am nervous and scared because like I can't see my podcast. Like I have like a dozen podcasts under my Apple ID.
Clearly, you have diarrhea going on over there.
I hope this show gets out there. I hope it's all still working by the time I upload this show.
It'll be on Spotify at least.
It'll be on YouTube for sure. But
we're fine.
YouTube and Spotify, they're fine.
It's all fine, guys. We're okay.
It'll be okay.
Nick,
stop trying to call me down, Randy.
Go take a Vicodin and relax, buddy. It's gonna be okay.
He wants to be stressed right now.
I do because it's better than feeling absolute remorse.
Guys, I'm worried about the
podcast.
I'm worried about the the podcast app.
I'm worried about the cyber technologies that we use for our podcast. My AirPods are really bugging out. Wow.
this is not something. For one, I guess it's nice if you want to develop a way for listeners to directly support podcasters. But me as a listener or as a fan, I would not pay to get rid of ads on podcasts.
I wouldn't either.
It's way too easy to skip.
Totally. Yeah.
It's not like YouTube where there's like ad or you got to wait 5 seconds. I can just tap and then be through the ads. So I'm still confused as to why they launched this or what the thought are they going to get a 30% cut of all the subscriptions?
Probably.
Is that the logic here?
I'm pretty confident they're attacking the same market that Spotify, Audible, and everybody else is getting into with all sound related stuff, and which will lead to exclusives. There will be Apple exclusives that come from this that have their dedicated show. The same way Joe Rogan is exclusive Spotify. And with the
but
paid
he is free.
He is free, but with a paid subscription, this is that whole new. This is in the realm of audio. Audible does this too, where they have Audible originals with books and now with podcasts. Everybody's doing this, and 100% we will see this with Apple now that they're introducing their variant of it. So Apple, if you want Talos of the Apple lawyer defense, that whole thing, I mean, my God, it could not be any more synergy than this right here. So have your people call my people, Nick and Sweeney, and then we can, sort this out.
Wow,
We'll
more
get
than one
contracts
person. I always
drafted.
thought I had a
His
split
people.
personality. Okay.
Nick is a people.
It is.
Have
it is
your people
confirmed.
call my people, Nick, and there you go. This would be a perfect exclusive show.
Although I will not take the case of the iMac as the defense lawyer.
I will.
I'm
I will.
rejecting that case.
I will.
will.
I love the
God.
new iMac.
All right, dual wield.
I'm gonna
be Mecha Godzilla here today. I'm gonna be going up against two alphas, and I will argue to the death.
Shall we get
Okay.
into it?
And
Do we want to get into AirTags first? I think that's probably.
Who cares?
Sure, let's
about
go over
those
everything
things?
else.
Let 'em
Okay, thank
die.
you. Okay, thank you.
You know why? Okay, you know why we're gonna talk about it? Because this is the last one. This is the last time.
Yep. The last time we'll mention it.
They've announced we know how they work. We know how much they are, and then let's get this over with. Let's put it in the past.
$29
We're gonna
bucks
lose AirTags.
for one of them. Great price. So there you go. For all you
That's a
want
decent
AirTags,
price.
you get them now.
Although I do
Congratulations.
realize now that an AirTag in its natural state, just out of the box, $29, it is kind of useless because you can't attach it to anything.
We just
in
drop
that.
it in a bag or something if you want it in your purse or.
You just leave it in.
I was
the
thinking
bag.
about putting one in my car. I was like $29.
Yeah.
I could spend $30 and just leave it in my car, and then I'll never forget where I parked it.
That's the non-Tesla
I have
version
never
of that.
That's Cybertruck
Randy's
money,
just
man.
like,
It's like, no,
That $30.
I'm judging you right now.
judge me more. I take it, Randy. I take it.
All right.
I am not even a Tesla owner, and I think that's not necessary.
I don't think it's necessary, but I have literally no other use. I have like pages and pages of like me trying to figure out excuses to get an AirTag, and I can't find any. I keep
That's like a giant nope.
I keep coming up with like blank reasons, just all
Reasons
blankness.
to get AirTags.
There's just nothing. There's just nothing.
I love how on the AirTags pricing page, where are AirTags? What section on Apple's website?
Under iPhone
Accessory.
accessories.
Oh, iPhone accessories?
Yep.
Oh, it's under the iPhone tab. It says it right there. Okay, I love in the pricing section when you can choose between the 1-pack and the 4-pack. At the bottom it
Yeah.
says, looking for AirTag Hermé?
I know. It's only $4.99.
Literally no one was looking for that, Apple. When people were thinking AirTag keychain accessory, I don't recall anyone being like, but I wish there was a $450 one.
I know. I totally
That
get
would
these
be-
if they were $450. I totally get them.
It's a keychain. It's not even a wearable. With the watch, I almost get it. They're stupid, but with the watch, it's like, okay, it's fashion, right? It's like you wear this with your watch, you attach it. It's your fashion statement. It's your quality brand, iconic name. That's the recognized. This you literally throw on your briefcase. It's like you're not wearing this. It's gonna
This
be.
is another version of Apple keeping the luxury tax and showing that they're still premium. It's obviously.
Oh yes, this is way up there.
Yeah. No,
This is up there with the wheels.
They're doing it just so they can say that we're still a premium thing. They know nobody's gonna get those things, and the people who do are the people who make FU money. Like, they don't care. Like, those are the same people who are getting the $400 wheels or getting a $300 book. That's just yeah.
And I will laugh every time they do that.
I look
they're
forward
do it
to
again.
seeing Marquez review them.
The $500 luggage tag.
Never lose your luggage though.
I won't lose it. Will it ping devices? Will the Find My network work in other countries?
I hope so. It should. I don't
If
see
you
the reason
lose
why
your
it
bag, if you lose your bag out, it gets shipped to a different country. Will it show up in the find? You open the Find My app, and it's like, oh, your bag is in Madagascar, by the way. Oh,
shouldn't. You're like
Just gotta
calling
go
the
get it.
airline,
What's
and
my
they're
bag
like,
doing
I don't
in
know where your bag
Berlin?
is, sir. And you're like, well, it's in Madagascar right now. And they're like, well, how do you know that? It's like, because your baggage tracker, your baggage guy has an iPhone.
Yep.
oh, God.
Oh boy, AirTags. We're not talking about them. That was fun. Now we're
The
done.
spatial awareness thing, the screen that points you like a compass in the direction that they are. I'm just imagining that it's like the arrow points this way and it says 40,000 miles or something. You know, like
Yeah.
that way. Just walk that way for about.
It doesn't give
7
you a
years.
map. It gives you a distance and a direction.
Just an arrow. I kind of love that. Maybe the arrow starts going downwards towards the
Center theory.
because it's like on the opposite side of the planet. It's like inner core.
Here's
Wow.
where I find the weirdness of it. The whole battery situation.
I don't like that
Yeah.
personally.
You have to. They're not rechargeable, right? You have to get a
No.
new battery.
No. You have to buy a new one. And nowhere on the website do I see like a AirTags battery replacement thing. Maybe they're not selling them yet because they assume, of course, no AirTags have died yet, but it's going to be a monthly subscription.
Gosh, no.
They've already got this down.
No.
Is it? I'm not sure. I don't know why I'm asking you, but I thought maybe one of you might know. Is it worse or better for the environment to have those little replaceable batteries?
Probably worse. I mean,
No.
My thought was worse because you have to replace it, and then the old one is now useless, and you have to do something with that old battery.
You recycle it.
you could recycle it, or maybe it's better for the environment on a whole big scale if you replace 3 or 4 of these little huge, really small little batteries over the lifetime of the product, instead of Apple shipping another lightning cable, a lightning adapter, and then all the circuitry and the extra size of the case that it would have to be to fit in the lightning port. Maybe after they added up all that, maybe it's better on the environment to just have non-rechargeable batteries.
That's a good argument then.
Or this is just the
they
part.
literally ship it. Nothing else. It's just the AirTag. That's it.
Maybe maybe this is one of those situations where they just take the L and they don't talk about it. Like, oh well, everything else. Our plan is 2030. By 2030.
20.
That's what they're saying.
We have to come up with rechargeable AirTags.
Yeah,
by
we'll be ready by 2030, not in 2021. That was ready in end of 2019.
Did you like Tim announcing things outside in nature?
Yeah, I love that. Oh, dude,
He's like walking.
Apple Park's amazing. It was perfect.
I like
well
the
done.
color of the iPhone that he announced. I like his enthusiasm. I hate he's not saying good morning. Listen, Tim.
Yeah, I know.
Well, just
It felt
give me.
intentional.
I won't mock it anymore. I promise. Good morning. I won't do it.
Maybe he knows it's special so that if he does say it eventually, we're all just going to be cheering.
Yeah.
Like,
He'll save it for when he gets back on stage. Good morning.
yeah, just pure hype. He finally said it. Yeah. That might be it. Maybe he's building it
I
up.
like the
He
fact
knows
he's
we want
outside
it.
just because we see different parts of the park. Show me every part of the park. That's fine.
Yeah.
Quit being on the 3rd
They're
floor and that same spot.
Yes.
No, walk away. Yeah.
They're keeping it fresh,
Yes.
which I like.
Thank you.
They got the event coverage, and they're like, let's mix it up. Last time we did this, now we're going to try this. I was at the cafeteria in November, now I'm going to be outside. The next one is going to be him driving on the interstate stuck in traffic.
I think they're using
In Apple Car. In Apple Car. Good morning.
an Apple Card. That's how that works. They keep using the same model home though for where they announced the HomePod Minis and stuff like that.
Yep.
Is what they're using for everything else, and I think the commercials were filmed there, which my friend was in. Congratulations, Merrick. So
That's cool.
he had a
I
one up
know
me.
him.
He had a one up me. It's like, oh, I'm in a commercial. It's like, no, I'm literally in the commercial.
I'm literally in the commercial. Yeah, I think that Apple has retained their dominance as best production value in the industry by far.
100%.
Very clean. And they were stuck right on the hour. It ended
Yeah.
right at the 60-minute mark. Which
I'm glad it was not
It was
any shorter than an hour. That's the best part for me.
or longer. I thought it was that pacing we got today was exactly how I like my Apple events. It's when they're not going over things we already know too much. There was a little bit too much M1 repeating, but for the most part, everything was good. They were like, the iPad Pro has M1. M1 has an 8-core CPU and an 8-core. I'm like, oh, we know. They used like the same graphic too.
Yeah.
It was like the same animation. I was like,
They
"Didn't
weren't.
even
They
make
were
a
not
new one."
marketing to us. They were talking to the new people, the ones who weren't interested in
guess.
Mac.
I can't think of another spring event that was this packed.
Mm-mm.
I
never.
Yep.
Never.
Most spring events are pretty stale. They don't usually have much in the spring. They typically keep it pretty chill, pretty like, there's one or two things. This one was like 5.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of stuff pushed
and
together.
a bunch of other stuff too. Like
Do you think?
7
Do you
devices.
think this is laying the foundation for what we are expected with production, length, everything, substance? Do you think this is the foundation for Dub and forward for the rest of the year?
I hope.
I
would hope so, but I think they got it all out of their system. Like
I think this was all reserves from last year.
Cleared out all of the
Yeah,
backlog
yeah.
of things that we thought they were going to announce, and we were kind of waiting
Yeah.
for them to announce. It's like, all right, well, we got AirTags, we got the podcast thing, we got a new color iPhone, we got the Apple TV, we got the new iMac, we got the new iPad.
That
It's like,
stupid Apple TV was
there's-
on our list for like 2 years.
Nothing was
Exactly.
new announced today. Nothing was new that we weren't already in some way, shape, or form expecting. And so I felt
we
like
were expecting
even though we had
some
fully,
of them, but having them done
Last
today
year.
was unexpected. Exactly.
So-
Yeah.
it's like today was a very packed event, which I love, but it's this is stuff that was already on our radar. This feels like all the stuff that they realized they didn't want to put in for the last 3 ones that came into the fall season. This feels more like this is pandemic cleanup is the best way I think I would put it. For example, AirTags,
Cleanup.
right? Like, okay, we knew they should have been out sooner. Everything was alluding to that. Even the iMac, like these rumors of the M1 coming out at the same time. Apple TV, that's not moving any industries forward in the sense that you could come out the same way. So I just feel like this was pandemic cleanup day.
I have something so relevant to this podcast to add that
Ooh.
is about the new Apple TV.
Okay.
It now has HDMI 2.1.
Finally! Woo!
The podcast was built on HDMI
It
2.1.
only took since 2017 for them to come full circle. Woohoo! Finally, HDMI 2.1. All right, well, Drew, this is a great segue to my favorite topic. So, Mr. Talos of Tech, what about HDMI 2.1?
We finally got it. But apparently 120 hertz support isn't available yet.
What? Oh, Drew, I am so sorry. Your eyes are going to be bleeding every time you watch Dickerson.
I don't even think I was going to get it.
Dickerson or the TV?
Can I just get the remote without the TV?
I'm sure they'll sell it at some point, but would they be compatible is the question.
I don't have an older Apple TV. I just mean like
I'll
just
let
hold the
you guys
remote.
know.
Randy will be our correspondent in the field.
That's right, guys. I'm out here with the remote. I'm out here today trying out the new Siri Play. Oh, no, I don't want to say that word. Every time I joke,
They do have it listed separately for $60.
Oh, compatibility. $60.
The whole thing should be
That's less
$60.
than the old Siri remote.
180 is
To
way
be
too
fair.
much.
The last Siri remote was 80.
Oh
Jeez.
my goodness.
So this is actually better. And it works with Apple TV HD.
Hey!
And now there is...
Nice.
I mean, it comes with it. They're still selling the Apple TV HD.
Hey! I'm getting it. That's what I'm buying.
And it comes with the remote. So
Woo!
I hope it would
All
be
right.
compatible. I just hate now that there are 2 generations of Apple TV 4K. That's so confusing.
Totally.
Yeah, I think they could have worded it different.
It's on the compatibility page. It's like Apple TV 4K first generation, Apple TV 4K second generation. I'm like,
Apple TV HDR.
Plus Pro
HD
Max.
There you go. Apple TV Pro.
And
because
it's
it
cool
has an
about the
A12.
holding your phone up to the TV and calibrating it. That's cool.
That is weird. I'm
Yeah.
very curious how that works. Something tells me it's not going to work that well. It's like,
It will
how
work
good
perfectly,
can they really calibrate?
but it's going to not be very useful. They actually do sell like display calibrators that you can buy. It's like a USB webcam that you plug into the back of your computer. You put some software on it, and the software will show what it thinks is a specific color. And then you put the little camera right up to your monitor, and then it feeds back. And so they did that. I mean, that technology exists. They just made it real easy with the iPhone. But I don't think anyone's going to use it.
Weird.
I
be
would
very
use
curious.
it, but I'm not going to buy it.
Oh.
I would use it if I bought it. Anything that you can get a better image out of it, I'd be a sucker for that stuff for sure. It'd be cool to see it. But if obviously that's Apple 4K second gen thing. You're not gonna make me
That
spend.
can only be done with an A12.
Evidently, and I'm not interested in dropping $100 something. I'm hesitant about the $60, but I will definitely try it out for $60. And if I don't like it within the 2 weeks, I'll return it. It's not anything that a must have. Today, nothing about today was a must have, but things that I am open minded about, like the iPad, like the iMac, like Apple TV controller, all these things. I have no interest in the AirTag at all. There's no.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Me
nothing.
neither. I was just excited for it to get announced because now people can.
Yeah,
stop.
thank God.
Like finally, if I was really worried because if we didn't get AirTags today, we
Oh,
would have
no.
been on the same boat of give up, they're over, they're done. But then everyone would keep asking like, oh, but maybe AirTags are coming in June, or maybe AirTags. Now that they're out, that will all stop. There can't be.
We
more
can go back to
questions
talking about
no.
air power.
Yeah, air power coming out or something, that kind of crap. So now that can finally all be put to rest, and we're
Yeah.
done. No more, which is so satisfying. After 2 years of leaks, it was ridiculous, and the price was much better than I thought. But now seeing how Apple is pitching it in the Apple Store app, I'm like, oh, they're just going to make all the money from the keychains. That's the trick.
Yep.
Like $30 keychains, and it costs the same price of the tag itself. So they're not making money off the tag; they're making money off the accessories for the tag, which is
I think they're making
that makes
off
sense.
money off of. It's what we were saying last time we talked about. I think they're making money off of the actual the vendors using theirs. Like they're paying something for it to be on the Find My network. The network is its own
Right.
service now. They're not making money off
Yes.
of us. They're making money off of the companies now that want to use that service. Apple is going to go
Good.
through that approach of things in the future. That's a cool approach to do. That's what they're going to do. Like, all right, Chipotle, you want to do your thing, then, let's go. Then it's going to cost you this much, a subscription of this one. And it's just no different than Google paying a premium to let there be the default search engine. This is their business services.
business
with
to
other-
business
yeah.
service.
I'm
Yeah.
all for it because I don't care. I'm indifferent about it all the same.
That means we don't have to front the cost.
That's
we don't
right.
get the ads.
That's
we don't get the
right.
pop-ups.
Yep.
They can get their services revenue from somebody else. That
Yep.
not us. I like that.
And
Yeah.
we get things like AirTags that are stupid cheap.
Can we
So-
talk about the iPad Pros?
Yes.
Sure. I'm
Because this is my favorite.
I'm kind of upset, to be completely honest. It has 5G.
Why are you upset? I was miraculously impressed by how quickly they talked about 5G. I was really worried as soon as they mentioned it that was going to be the rest of the event. I was like, oh, we're done. Bye, everyone. Okay, we can sign off now. As soon as it almost felt like it was self-aware. Like when they brought it up, they were like, it also has They're like, you know what this is. You know what we're about to do. He just gets real close. He's like,
3,000 download speed.
In optimal conditions.
In optimal.
those ideal conditions that
While
no one
you're
has ever
on a
found.
cruise.
Yeah, in the middle of the
I'm sure
ocean.
they have
Your
ultra-wide
your
band in the
iPad
middle
is
of the ocean.
muted.
I also like imagining people just live streaming from their iPads with these weird mounts,
Yes.
these giant.
Yeah.
Tripods.
It's like, it doesn't support external cameras, but you should live stream from it.
Because those cameras are great. Also, favorite surprise feature I was not expecting was center stage.
That was
That
really
looks
cool.
awesome.
Yes.
That was really
Yep.
cool.
I love that. It was like 122 degrees. That's pretty wide, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
is that wider than the ultra wide on the back camera?
I think it's the same. I think.
Same?
It's probably a
Because
little bit
it's
more,
not. It's,
actually. I think,
You think
the
so?
ultra wide's an 18 millimeter equivalent. Which
What
an
would I
18
look up for that? What is the
millimeter degrees to it all depends on the lens system. It's 100 and what 20 degree field of view.
22.
Okay, so
An 8
I just
millimeter
looked it up.
full frame
iPhone-
equivalent would be 8 millimeters. So I don't know.
iPhone 12's ultra wide is 120 degrees. So this is slightly more than the ultra wide. And it'll motion track with your face. I was thinking about these podcasts. I was like, when we
First
move over like
thing.
this.
When
That came to
we're
mind.
busy cooking in the kitchen, we can have our iPads
Oh,
and
yes.
still record a podcast.
I like that thought process too, because before we were talking about HomePod robotic arms
Yeah.
moving around with the iPad. Now it's like, no, it's just super wide. It's, the lens is just fisheye.
But do you
all
think
the
the
way
image
out.
is going to be just as fuzzy as the ultra wide? Yeah.
Yeah,
FaceTime
it was looking pretty
compression
crunchy
will
even
push
on
it
the
down.
stream.
FaceTime compression will push it down so much you won't even notice.
You won't
Okay.
even care.
This is also
This
true.
is
I
being
don't
filmed
think-
at 720.
The FaceTime calls we're doing right now, I don't think are even 1080p, are they?
I'm 100% using a 720 because I'm using my MacBook. So this is 720.
I'm just
Oh.
looking at both of you guys.
Drew,
and how-
your hair looks like 1080. Randy, you look like 720.
my-
Just your hair, Drew. Everything else is like
No, yeah,
144.
your hair is so. Every time you move your head, Drew, your hair has been so dimensional. I'm so glad Nick brought it up because I've been not once have I looked you in your eyes. I've been looking at your hair this whole time.
When I look at both of you, you both, for me, look like 480p probably.
How dare you?
Wow. Okay. Well, it's
But
probably
I don't think it's your fault. I don't think it's the camera's fault even. I feel like there's a certain level of compression FaceTime does.
Nick looks
when
like
they're
he's 720.
calling.
Yeah,
I mean, I
I
am
see
using the
720.
Sony to do this FaceTime call. So
you're still.
I don't know, like FaceTime's max resolution.
Yep. I mean, there are times when you guys look like you're real life.
Real life.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have a. Google doesn't have a direct answer if there's like a specific resolution FaceTime.
Because
caps
Google
out
doesn't
at.
want to incriminate itself. They'll be like,
okay.
iPad is better.
iOS 14.2 adds 1080p FaceTime HD video call support, but I doubt it's group FaceTime.
I did not look this up, but does the new iPad Pro with that new power button, is that also Touch ID?
I don't think so.
Because
We
it
talked about that in the hype stream, though.
it has the newer button. It's longer. It looks just like the regular
Really?
iPad. Yeah, I saw it.
I
I,
didn't
saw it in the
notice
commercials. I was paying way too much close attention
Wait, what?
to the. I was noticing things being leaked on the commercials before they announced it. Hey, white keyboard. Oh, cool. Hey, look at that. Like everything I was
Yeah, I
noticing.
noticed that.
I saw that instantly too. As soon as the keyboard was, I was like, "Hey, that probably get real dirty."
So you're saying the iPad Pro has Touch ID?
No, I'm saying it,
It
has
does
this.
not.
The power button for iPad Pro is the same design as the regular iPad that has Touch ID. So I inquired if you thought.
I don't know if it does.
It says Face ID
looking
sensor.
at
It
it.
doesn't say anything about Touch ID sensors on this.
You want to be a
I know
real.
it definitely.
Go ahead.
I know it definitely does not have Touch ID. That's for sure. But I'm saying the power button looks similar to
it's
the
size.
old iPad Pro.
I have
could
to
be
take your word.
looking at
I can't look right now, so I'm just taking your word.
I'm
It looks the
looking
same.
as we
It's the
speak.
same.
It looks pretty.
It's the same size.
It might be the same.
It's the
It might
same
be
size.
just one of those weird prototypes.
You
they
want
use
to
in
you
the
want to know what
commercial.
else is the same? the Apple logo on the back
speakers are very
still
different,
vertical.
Oh yeah, that's
Yes.
a shame.
I was
that
so
would have been a good
disappointed.
time to switch it.
Yeah.
Not as disappointed. I think I was overwhelmed by the iMac disappointment that didn't stand
Yeah.
out to me.
This is
But
true.
I disagree.
the fact that we got Thunderbolt on the iPad finally,
Which is cool.
you can. I love that you can hook up your $800 iPad to a $6,000 monitor now.
Totally.
Finally.
Man, I was really waiting on that feature. You have no idea.
It's just a tad bit thicker.
Well, now
so that
Drew
might make
understands the power of the XDR display. So now that he understands its
it, I
capabilities.
do.
Yeah.
This is
Now
true.
you know.
I've now seen the Pro display with my own eyes as of last weekend. So
And was your mind blown?
Yes.
it was the best display Apple's ever made for sure.
Cool.
Compared to all the, I had a 27-inch iMac right next to it, so I knew side by side, and I was like, yeah, it's a bit better. The bezels are what I appreciate the most, though. It's like thin, equal bezel.
No.
all the way
Now I'm
around.
talking
No,
for
let-
Drew. He loves it so much that he can't bring himself to spend that type of money because he knows it would hurt all the arguments he made. So just so he could keep continuity with his stances, he's choosing not to do it.
No.
Choosing.
I looked at it and was whelmed.
Well,
I was insanely whelmed. I was like,
Wow,
yes,
I am so
the
whelmed.
brightness is a bit better. The colors are a bit better, but it was absolutely like I was using it for about 5 minutes and I already stopped noticing.
No,
I
come
was
on.
like, okay. That just became a screen. I told Randy when we met up over the weekend, I said, I'd be willing to pay some Apple tax on a monitor like that, just
Yeah.
with that size and that bezel. I was like, $3,000 I could swing. I'd be willing to drop $3,000 for the whole get-up, the stand, the
Yeah.
monitor. Even without the webcam or the speakers, I'd be willing to front $3,000 for that design. But $6,000 is
No.
too far, way too far.
No.
It's the AirPods Max thing all over again. It's like you went past Apple tax and then doubled it, and then and I could justify it if it was flawless, but it's not flawless. And same with the Pro display. There's still little things about it I am bothered by. So
I would not pay a penny
Too
over
much.
$3,000 for the XDR. Totality.
so we're in agreement there on the price.
And
of
I'm even saying,
what's
like,
worth.
even
But now
after
we can get it-
after taxes, I would not pay a penny over $3,000.
yeah, factored in sales tax.
Because it feels like
How
we're
about
like
you,
we're negotiating. Like, oh, it'd be worth it. And if Apple goes 4,000, I'd be like, go kick rocks. No, 3,000. Like, that's where I draw my line. That's my final offer.
After being at the Apple Store, I did look at third-party used sites to see if they had, because I was like, I don't need it to be new. I wonder if they have Pro displays going for less. You know, I was like, what are the used mark? They're not cheap or used. Everything is about the same price.
People
So
want
I
to get
was
their
like,
money's
okay,
worth
never
out of it.
If you buy that thing, you're not selling it.
because you can now plug it into
Do you
your
have a price
$800
for it,
iPad.
Nick?
For the Pro Display XDR without the stand, I would pay probably around $2,000 for it. I guess maybe because I am in the market for a new display right now. My current 27-inch Philips monitor is having some weird problems. It does like some flickering from time to time, and then also a while ago I kind of melted part of the display, so I have like this weird like artifact in it. So yeah, I know.
He had his flamethrower out again.
Not a flamethrower. I put a light bulb too close, like an exposed lampshade-less light bulb too close to the monitor.
Oh, no.
And like it melted part of the diffusion grids inside of the panel. Like it still works, but like part of the panel is fused together, so it's like a nice bright spot right in the corner. And it's okay enough when I'm like editing or just like have a bunch of windows open. It's not very. Like, I'm looking at it now. It's not terrible, but when I'm like color grading or like I have stuff like in full screen in Final Cut and I'm like trying to watch stuff, I'm like, that is annoying. And so I was looking at some ultra wide monitors, even as recent as
Ultra-wide.
Saturday. Yeah,
What inspired you to get an ultra wide?
well,
Hi,
so,
Randy Vasquez here.
yeah, his name is
The
Randy.
ultimate inspiration for everything. I'm glad I inspired you, Nick.
That could be
Yes.
your Twitter bio. Inspirational.
Inspirational speaker. Yeah, basically just the Final Cut timeline. Like seeing a Final Cut timeline in either 21 by 9 or 32 by 11 or whatever that other ratio is, the super wide one. Like that's just like you can have like your full size video over here. You can have a full length timeline over here. You can have all your effects and everything. Right. It's like that looks like fun. So I was looking at that, and I cannot find a third party monitor that I like. Honestly, I literally cannot find one. None of them have matching bezels all the way around. Not a single one. I cannot find a single third-party monitor. DM me on Twitter, at me at Twitter, if you have one. But all of them.
Me too. While you're at it,
either have
wait, are you saying my LG one it's not matching?
Well, all of the bezels all the way around are not thin. Like. There are some that have equal bezels, top, bottom, and all the sides, where they're equal, but they're like Chongus bezels, and I don't want that. The ones that are like super minimal, like my Philips is very minimal borders on three sides, but the bottom has like an inch big chin. And I'm sure we'll get into more chin discussion later. But like, I could not find a single monitor that I liked third party, and so. The Apple Pro Display XDR is the only one. So $2,000 is about what I could maybe justify up to $2,000 for a Pro Display XDR designed display with 4K or whatever. Like, I don't care about the resolution.
Are you retaining the $1,000 Pro stand?
No, I have VESA mounts. I don't mind doing VESA mounts.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Then we all line up, basically, I think. Because I'm saying $3,000. Which Pro Stand, if it stays at 1,000, that would mean the monitors too.
True.
So we're all like in agreement. Pro Display XDR needs to be exactly half what it is.
Yeah.
And then some people might buy it.
And then we'd be very interested. Now
I wouldn't say very interested.
Them make...
I'd say I'd have to think about it. But it would be on the table.
No. There's very few products I'm like, I don't need to think about that. I'll just buy it. But now I'm wondering how they made a mini LED iPad Pro for $1,100 that has the same display specs as the Pro Display XDR. It's got the same nits, it's got the same contrast ratio, same peak nit brightness, except this one's 120 hertz. So I'm like, now I'm interested.
Oh my goodness. First you had my curiosity, now you have my attention.
Exactly. That's right where I am. I'm like, now you can get me interested in this because I'm going to have my refresh rate and the dynamic range. This is the best display on an Apple product ever. That's it. We found it. Okay. It's just too small.
So the smaller iPad is no longer on the table for you?
Well, I was believing most of the leaks that it would be a 12.9-inch exclusive. So it was, and this keyboard case kind of solidified getting the bigger version. So 11-inch, I wouldn't have much interest in. I don't honestly know many people that would want the 11-inch anyway. Like, especially if you're getting an M1. Like if you're getting an M1 chip with a Thunderbolt controller, you're probably interested in doing like heavier duty editing or higher performance stuff. In that case, you probably wouldn't want the smaller size, would you? But
I don't
know if there's a market for that.
I have a couple people in my personal life that have 11-inch iPads that like the 11-inch form factor, but because of the micro LED, they're thinking about the 12-inch instead of the 11-inch, and I'm like, that's kind of sad because I hate it when my favorite form factor doesn't have the features that I want, and you have to change form factors. So, sorry to all you 11-inch owners who like your 11-inch that are gonna have to make a big one. I don't understand why I couldn't have made a smaller one. Like I feel like it would be harder to make a bigger micro LED panel than it would be to make a smaller micro LED panel, right?
Yeah, it might have. I don't know.
It's more to drive sales, I'm sure.
It's more expensive in general.
Yeah,
is what you're saying. So like an 11-inch iPad Pro, what would that cost? Like with mini LED, would it be like $900?
Yeah, $899 is what I would spec it at.
Yeah. So they want that mini LED option, but they also want that entry level. They want to be able to say starts at $799. And if they gave mini LED to the 11-inch, they probably couldn't have hit $799.
Sure. And you know what? To be honest, though,
I don't take issue with how it's laid out right now because with an M1 chip now going into the iPad Pro, the bigger size one, my accessories are still compatible. Getting that really makes this MacBook become more obsolete, especially if we are going to get that software that I'm predicting we're going to get, because that would become again my portable device while moving towards what I've always wanted to get another iMac for. And I like this new iMac. We're not getting it's no different than any of the M1 devices that we have right now that you could buy. Bless you. I know.
I thought you were yawning there for a second, Drew. You're like,
It's allergy season. I've been sneezing all day. I'm surprised I haven't sneezed yet all over this show. But
that was a fake sneeze, for the record.
Well,
I was insulted by your iMac defense.
No, no. Here's my defense. Ready? And
are we starting?
Yeah.
Yes, let's start it.
I'm ready. Okay.
Opening arguments, Randy.
People want power.
Okay.
So Mac Mini.
So they put them in cubes. Got it. Okay.
So they put them in M1 cubes. To be honest, and the M1 cube is a type of iMac.
No.
It doesn't get the iMac name, but it is a Mac. It's not a MacBook. It's a desktop.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that M1 is so compatible, it belongs not just in a cube, but on a today iMac. You get 1080p, eyesight camera or FaceTime, whatever they want to call it. You get 6 speakers, surround sound, spatial whatever, mics, audio,
Touch ID keyboards, like, that is a big deal. Touch ID keyboards, yes please.
You get Touch ID, and you actually get a bigger footprint now with the screen real estate because they have moved they've moved the bezels thinner. I know they're not ideal, but you can't have your cake and eat it too. We're making process steps
now we
here.
can't.
To be honest, I think Nick has convinced me with his cube that maybe you can have it all. Yeah, I think you can.
I just have it all.
Maybe you can have it all.
So the pros of what I like in an M1 that come over to the iMac are all the benefits of what you can get with it, with the fan system and everything that you get with it. If my trade-off is I don't get an SD card reader, no M1 Mac has an SD card reader, and that's the only thing that I want. That's the only thing that I want. I've converted all of my setups to USB-C. So 2 USB-Cs and 2 Thunderbolts. Okay, then it is what it. If none of them today have an SD card reader, then if I had to make a purchase today, I would 100% go with the iMac. I want the screen real estate. I wanted the resolution, the brightness, the updated everything of it. I love the Mac Mini for best value. That will always be my go-to best value. But if you just need your workhorse to be an all-in-one, I love all-in-ones. That's why I got the iMac. I love all-in-ones. So the iMac it has my attention, but minus the SD card reader. That's it. The Ethernet, cool. I don't use Ethernet. It'd be cool if I did, but I don't use it. So I don't care that it's wherever it's at. I don't care. I only care about the SD card reader. As long as I have to put a dongle in there to have an adapter, then screw it. I'll take the biggest display that I can get. I'll get this slick, thin design, so thin that you need to put the headphone jack on the side. Cool, fine. Can I hook up my monitors for music? Cool, I'm set. The only letdown for me is the SD. I like the color choices too. I like the blue. I like the lavender. I like the red. I like that teal one that they have. All cool. I'm for it. I am 2007 iMac ready. Yeah.
Okay. So before you launch into this, Drew, I should say I'm as of right now I am undecided. So this is a good case. Randy can be the pro. Drew, I think you're the con. You can go ahead.
Randy has forgotten one crucial problem with this iMac.
Okay.
It's ugly. And that destroys every benefit. He's looking at it from a functional standpoint of like, I could work with that because I bought a MacBook Air and this does basically the same stuff as my MacBook Air, except it's ugly.
Better.
The problem is there's a giant metal chin with not even a logo anymore. So if you want to make the argument of it's got to have an iconic iMac look to it, they've ditched that. There's a reason Apple switched to black bezels on the iPhone 8 product red after the product red iPhone 7 launched, and it was because everyone agreed white bezels looked ugly. The black, when the display is off, it doesn't go white, it goes black, and that means that you have a bigger contrast between display that's black, and then you have, when the display's on, you have a black seam in between the bezel. That's why Apple Watches have black bezels, is because they can seamlessly integrate an OLED display so that it just looks like the pixels come on, they come off. There's no like giant backlit light. Now you have this big white border going around the entire thing that makes it super obvious where the bezel is and the little black line. That's why nobody misses those old white iPad 2s in the days, and they don't do those anymore. iPad Air, iPad Pros, they all got black bezels. iPhone 10, 11, 10R, 12, they've all got black bezels on the front because you don't see all of those gaps between display, black line, white, camera. This has all that now. They've got the black dot for the camera, they got the white bezel, they have a big pointless chin, just like the original Pixel, as Nick was talking about, and the colors are all pointless because it's a desktop. Like the best view of the iMac is from the back. It's when you're looking away from it.
And the chin.
It looks okay. The chin looks disgusting.
You're disgusting.
You never want, the most unflattering angle is the front. And if you're going to go for value, the reason I would still recommend a Mac Mini, which has the same processor, arguably much better I/O. It's got USB-A ports, which I know your amps and microphones are going to take advantage of. And you've got an HDMI port, so you can still utilize any monitor you use to. And even those third-party monitors, I've seen Randy's ultra-wide. That looks 1,000,000% better than the front of this iMac. I guarantee you, if this was a third-party LG monitor that launched yesterday, and that's how it looked like, with the giant bezel on the front and the white bezels, everyone would say, nah, don't want it. That looks weird. I want a more clean, minimal-looking monitor setup. Mac Mini, you could at least put a good-looking display with a decent border that actually looks natural instead of this hunk of garbage, which looks pointless. It's not functional. There's all this added space that serves no... They couldn't even put front-facing speakers there or something. It's not like they serve any purpose. It's not like it physically has to have a chin. If you've been able to make iPads with equal-sized bezel for 3 years now, and that has a big battery in it, you're talking about a big
and the
display.
Sound quality sucks, exactly.
The iPad Pro sounds fine, but I'm just imagining you using your studio monitors with this headphone jack going out the side at all times. So you're going to be looking at this big fat monitor with this big chin, and it's going to have this big aux cord going out of it constantly.
That you never even think about. It's no different than seeing my USB hub on my desk just obstructing my perfect desk.
It's not attached to your monitor. This will be.
It's all right there, Drew. It doesn't matter. You're
also
only
the base
so
model.
Far the what?
The base model iMac does not come with 4 ports on the back.
Only has 2.
It comes with 2 and nothing else.
Which I
sounds
actually
like a MacBook Pro to me.
I kind of like the idea of only having 2 ports. So continue, Drew.
I do not. If it's a desktop, I don't see. If it's a laptop, I understand wanting to go minimum with ports. But if you're going to go desktop, that's why I appreciated the Mac Mini. Is it gives you that additional I/O as a backup, because you're like, you're not moving all over the place. This thing is going to pick a spot on a desk and basically stay there most of its life. So you might as well add in some extra I/O on the back. This one feels like it intentionally left out I/O so that you have just the same amount of limitations as a MacBook, except it's not mobile.
It's almost like they're giving you more stuff for the 27-inch redesign.
I bet it's going to look just like this.
And I bet it's going to look beautiful. Remember how much
I'm
everybody
basically
thought...
describing my iMac Pro.
that ugly dated thing. No, I'm just kidding.
That's the disappointment we've gone to now. We've gone from, I hope the larger size that comes out later ends up looking somewhat like the model that came out 4 years ago. That's our hope.
That's your
now.
argument. I love the design. You're because the only thing you're attacking is something that's so subjective that the only thing you said is chin. I hate chin and bezel. Okay.
You would not have bought a monitor that looked like that yesterday.
I would not.
If
you're
you were
right.
in the market for a monitor,
the purpose of an iMac is an all-in-one display. You're absolutely right. I would have not done that. But
then why not have a all-in-one display that looks like a display you would actually want to use that also has a computer on the inside?
If they give you all the specs that you got today on an old design iMac, I would still take the new design.
Ooh.
Yeah. I would still take the new design
over the old design with the exact same specs.
You like so would you like your iPhone more if there was a giant inch of aluminum on the bottom?
If you're asking me, can there be if you're saying could I change things, who wouldn't? Everybody wants the bezel-less infinity style everything.
Yeah.
Sure, but for what you got right now, there are no problems with it.
It's a step backwards. It's a downgrade.
No, it's
not.
Okay, then you go get your iMac Pro that's been updated last year. You go find it. Since it's a step backwards, that's obviously the superior model. Go get that iMac.
Yes.
I'll get the new iMac, and we'll see who is crying with their Intel
Tell me this
chip.
honestly.
Huh?
If there was an iPad Pro with white bezels, would you get that over the black one?
No.
Why?
Because you'll see all the camera arrays and face ID.
Oh, so that's a downside.
I would get white bezels. Here's why, okay? I'm looking at my bezeled monitor right now. The screen is white, bright, and beautiful, and there's stuff happening. And this is something that everyone recognized back with iOS 7. White bezeled iPhones looked better when there was content on the screen. When you had the Mail app open and the whole screen was white, the white bezels did look better,
and
objectively. The problem was, when you turned off the display, it was black and it didn't look right. So, what I would say, what I submit, is my computer is on 99% of the time I'm looking at it. Okay? Even if I'm not currently using it, it's a desktop, so it's just on in the background. I don't do what is it called, screensavers or anything. It's just always on, and whatever, that might be killing my display or whatever, killing the battery. Or whatever.
Phobia won't give you the promised price. I promise you that.
Well, we all know Phobia is just a great company all around. So I actually I'm looking at my monitor right now and imagining the bezels white, and I think it would look better with white bezels when it's on. Now the camera, I would not be a fan of the camera hole. But
you just did a whole thing about chins.
I did, and you know what? I've thought about this a lot. That was a hot takes live stream, buddy. That was a hot takes live stream, and I don't know. I've warmed up a lot to the iMac in the past hour and a half. My initial knee-jerk reaction was, "Ew! How dare they? This is disgusting." And now I'm thinking about it.
You warmed up to it the same way you warmed up to the Magic Keyboard. It's longevity that makes you like, you know what? The more I think about it, I would take a big chin that gives me 6 different speakers and better mic input that's coming out and doing its thing over anything that was leading up to today.
I'm not suggesting it's one or the other, though. I'm not saying you have to have bad speakers with a thin bezel design.
No, but what you are saying is that it's a step backwards, and anything leading up to today, I would not accept. I would 100% take this iMac going forward today than an iMac of all the same configurations of old design and speakers and everything else yesterday. Today forward, I like the colors.
Well, I would take neither, based on just we've had the same design for 10 years, and now that they've finally changed it, they've done things that I think we both are agreeing are step backwards. You would not want the iPad Pro to have white bezels.
But we're not talking about iPad Pros. That's the
it's called
you're giving me a hypothetical.
No,
I'm giving you
you're talking
about
the difference between portables and desktops. Okay, in my mind, that's the difference. The monitor behind me,
we're talking
the 2000 G4 Cubes monitor, the Apple Studio display, it has white bezels. When a display is on, most of the time, I do think the bezels look better white. Now, with an iPhone, where you're looking about equal times at your phone off versus on, you might see it as you pick it up from the table. Yeah, I would see why 30 times a day you wouldn't want to see the ugly white bezels on a black screen. I get that. But when the display is on, I think white bezels look a lot better because a lot of the modern UI that we have, most websites are white. Most everything.
There's a line there. It's not seamless though. With a black bezel,
Neither
you don't
is
see
the
the line
notch,
between the
and
glass.
we've accepted the notch. We're making the same argument that we did for the notch.
But
it's obstructive. It's in
the way. But that's
mobile,
Randy. This is desktop.
Yeah. So with
my
desktop,
point being, there's less steps, there's less layers, there's less complexity. It's more of a minimalistic look.
Yeah.
To have a black bezel, because then the line between the display and the edge is 1 instead of with a white bezel it's 2. You got the line, and it always looks better in a render, and that's why I know it's always going to look better on the website than it does in person. But there's a reason most display manufacturers, like there's a reason the Pro Display XDR doesn't have white bezels. That was intentional.
And I'm sure
They
the
did
Pro version of the
If
iMac
the
will
biggest
have black
issue
bezels.
your takeaway
Guarantee
is,
it.
Drew, is bezels. That is not a deal breaker. That is
That was the top request for iMac redesigns for 10 years now, has been like, make it look more like the Apple Cinema display, like the Thunderbolt display with one single bezel iPad Pro and a stick. That was the biggest request. It wasn't a bunch
And
of
how
people
big
saying
was the
the
cinema
iPad Pro's
display? How big was that one?
27.
We're not done yet. We got more that's coming.
Yeah, that's the
again,
design language. We're done. I promise.
Are they going to make a 32-inch iMac that looks completely different from the 24-inch iMac?
You'll get your I/O. I believe that.
Some of it, I doubt.
The only thing that you convinced me on is base model iMac for 2 ports. I can't do. That's the only thing that you've convinced me on. I wouldn't do a two port anything. I don't like that the MacBook Air is doing that. I'm getting by, but one of my criteria was I always wanted 4 ports. Me
too, yeah.
I do believe the 27
I 100%
inch.
disagree with that.
I know you do.
I am seriously looking. I'm seriously looking at the 2 port one because it's just more simple, fewer ports. I have a hub that does everything. I just need one. I really just need 1 port. Hello,
If I could kill
12-inch
the
MacBook
hub
guy.
in a heartbeat, I would kill the hub.
But the bezels aren't the only issue, though. Even if you're right, I don't think you are, but even if you're right, and the 32-inch version has black bezels, it will basically look exactly like my current iMac.
And I would love everything about what we would get with the new colors, because I would get a colorful one. My biggest regret is not having the 1997 iMac. That I miss that thing so much. My biggest thing is we want sex appeal introduced back into it. Industrial gray and silver is so 2019. And 2020 made us get in love with design again.
If you think the new iMac is sexy, I think we have very different definitions of
No,
what
but
a sexy
I
looking
wouldn't say it's not
screen.
sexy. I would not say it's not sexy. I would not say it is sexy, but I also would not say it is not sexy. Got my double negatives in there.
From behind, it looks good, but I'm never going to look at it from behind.
The back of these things look better
I will,
than the
though.
front of these other guys.
I will see where I will put my. Like I can walk. My desk is in the center of this room, and so whenever I stick the iMac here, I know probably about 10% of the time I will be looking at it from the back. And
I would argue I look at the front of my Mac off more than I look at the back of it.
Well, look where your desk is at there, buddy.
yeah, your desk is like right up
totally
against the wall.
Get it.
Mine's in the middle.
But that's most situations. It's
Not
a
me.
desktop.
Not
for
me.
God's
But
sake.
don't
You're
buy
supposed
it.
to look
Then
at the
don't
front.
buy it. I'm starting to warm up to it. Randy's
I'm
got
not
me
going
inspired
to. I know.
over
I'm just
here.
arguing as to why it's a step back. This is definitely a step backwards to me. It looks like when people render it to try to make it look better, they make it look like the old one, which is to me
that there's an
considered a step
M1 chip
backward.
in it. The fact that there's an M1 chip in it is the only. It can't be a step backwards. It is everything that we need an iMac to be. There's no way, nothing about this is a step backwards. Even if they gave us the exact same design language with an M1 chip, we're still a step.
Even if they put a big phallic image on the chin and it had an M1, then that would still apply to that argument.
And so, to my point, this iMac is needed. It has its existence today. What you're arguing against was strictly aesthetic, and I can't change.
Because I believe that was the biggest issue with the iMac.
But I can't. It's so subjective. I can't change your mind more than mine. The part you changed my mind on was the 2 ports. That's not aesthetic. That is practicality, and you're 100% right on that. And that is the only thing that I say is base model. I can't change your mind on aesthetics, and you can't change mine. But you can get me on ports and stuff like that. Having a 4-port iMac is detrimentally more important than having a 2-port for my use case. For your use case, Nick, on the other hand, is looking for that single port. Good on him. But I would say most cases, people would love to have the option because, like you said, Drew, it's going to live on your desk 90% of the time anyway. You want to future-proof this thing. And if we can future-proof it in a way that makes it hold out at least another 5 years, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. If I could kill the hub, this USB-C hub, and I would do it in a heartbeat. And the only thing that it's missing is SD card reader for my use case. But that's my use case. Other people don't need that, and more power to them, But
my back.
Hi.
Hello. Can you see me?
Hello.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah.
Good. So we have to look at
this show on a same day show.
this.
I hope not.
We have to look at this
Did
front
Starlink act up?
for
I don't know what happened.
yes
Oh, he's
for
back.
a long time.
Welcome back. I have no
Welcome
idea
back.
what you just
We
said.
looked at. We had to look at the last iMac front for over 10 years.
Yes.
These are not like iPhone or iPad type of faces that we have to get comfortable with for a year or two and then they upgrade again. This is something that has to stick around for a long time. And the whole draw to me of a redesigned iMac that so many people were asking for, every concept, every render, ones we put in thumbnails, ones we were getting pumped for, getting excited for, those
not
were
just me,
all
right?
We can
just
hear him. Just keep nodding. We'll pretend like we can
Okay.
hear him. You know,
I can hear you.
I that's a good point, Drew.
I'll wait.
That's a really
It's a good point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna have an
My
iPad
mind's changed.
Pro
You've
on a
changed my
stick-
mind.
Good. If we're gonna have a display that's supposed to be immersive, that's supposed to be borders that get out of the way. The reason I loved the Pro Display XDR and checking it out is because there was not excess space that served no functional purpose. If you're going to put something on the front, the reason the iPad Pro to this day is my favorite Apple device is how efficient the use of its front design is. You got a solid display, you got a solid design, you want to make use of every square
That's
inch of
not
that
the
front.
reason, silly boy. iPad
The
Pro's
reason
the
I
best
despise, we
everything.
can go back and talk about Pixel 1 criticisms we gave way back when we were looking at how pointless that Pixel 1 front was. Oh, wait.
No, you're here. We hear
Am I
you.
back?
I hear you.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can hear you. I'm
When
just
we were
hanging on
complaining
every
about
thread.
the front of that Pixel 1, we all were complaining about how this does nothing. You could put anything there, whether it be a logo, whether it be buttons. In this case, it could be speakers. It could be anything. Every square inch of that front should have a purpose. That's what we love about the iPhone 10 or 12. That whole display we can
For
interact
something
with.
so
we go
small,
all in
Drew,
gestures.
yeah, that matters. But when you have a desktop-sized screen, it's not the same comparison anymore. Something this size,
I think it is. You want to take advantage of every square inch. It's the same
every
as my iPad, same
centimeter
as my iPhone.
on a phone matters.
Mm-hmm.
Not
And
so
I would
much on
argue
a
every
desktop.
square inch of your, if a monitor had a big chin like that,
Okay,
I wouldn't
Drew,
want that. So if we're gonna put,
Stop. You two are bickering about the design of the front. I will say, as a person who immediately, my knee-jerk reaction was, this is terrible, how dare Apple. I am warming up to it, and I will say there are many other exciting things that we could be talking about besides the front. And I get it. It doesn't look
Okay.
pretty. I also wish, I just retweeted a guy who did a little render, just basically chopped off the chin. And it looks so much better. I'm not going to argue.
Yes.
Black bezels.
thank you.
It looks
Thank you.
looks better, but I don't mind its current look. I don't mind it because there are some really interesting other pieces of technology. Like, say, it's 11.5 millimeters thin. That is really impressive for a desktop. My monitor is just a monitor, and it's much thicker than that. It's probably like 20 millimeters thick. And
Thank you.
and I
To me, it makes so little difference the side thickness, though, because you never look at it.
That's
from that
fine.
way.
I get that. But the reason why they have that chin, I don't know if you guys noticed this in some of the side-by-side like cutaway shots, the actual computer part's all in the chin. Like, it's the
I
computer
saw.
down below, and then the speakers on either side, and then the monitor on top.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all 11.5 millimeters thin. I would kind of prefer it, honestly, if the whole computer was 20 millimeters thick and they put the computer behind, or they did like a little dome shape or whatever. You know,
too.
they didn't have to have it flat like the iPad. But when we asked for an iPad on a stick, I mean, it's about as close as you can get to an iPad on the stick.
No.
It's thin.
No.
Yes.
This is impossibly
No.
thin. That
iPads have never looked that bad.
How dare
Never.
you?
When if they had a giant chin? If they had a chin, they would have a home button. This doesn't have anything. There's nothing.
well,
there.
my other
right, it has a
favorite
power button
device, the
instead.
Google Pixel 1, is just this amazing device with a chin. No, I
The
get it.
sound
The design
system's
is
in the
frustrating.
chin, Drew. We have great sound system. If this is the best sound system ever on a Mac, I heard the the 16-inch MacBook Pro, and it sounded really darn good. I was so close to just biting the bullet and getting an Intel 16-inch because it sounded so darn good. And they're saying this is better than that. That's exciting.
A desktop that sounds better than a laptop?
Speakers?
I mean,
mics? Camera? Yes.
I thought you were going to using your studio plug-in.
I do use it, but
Yeah.
but for my need, again, headphone jack too. Thank God. The idea of having that though, this is the true to form, just unbox, plug and play. Everything I have is a luxury. It's not a necessity. You can get genuine work off of done just by plugging in. You don't need an adapter for anything. You just plug it in and it works. This is an all-in-one that has been revitalized for today's standards.
I understand.
Is it not? Is it the best looking thing? No, but it's the best thing that we've got so far. And I would take all the pros over these little cons that I don't fully disagree aesthetically with. I don't disagree with you. It's just not a deal breaker. Knowing what's happening underneath and why it is, I will hold my reserve for the 27-inch because luckily we're now in a position where we all have an M1 chip with us right now, except for Drew. But
I do not.
But he will. You will. I see Mac Mini in your future. I see Mac Mini so close in your future that you could almost lick it.
Ignoring
specifically
the
because his 27-inch is going to look exactly the same, and he's going to be on a Mac Mini.
That's right.
I'd love a worse-looking iMac. I'd love a worse-looking iMac that's slower. But even if this design was exactly like, who was it? Wyatt B, who did that concept.
Yep, Wyatt B.
Thin bezel all the way around that's black, and it looks 1,000,000% better. Even if that was real, let's say Apple was trolling us and they come out and say, actually, this is how it looks. I would still be annoyed that they just stuck with an M1. The fact that we didn't get M1
this is where I
X
disagree
today,
with you.
I
100% disagree.
I find that putting an M1 in a Mac Mini and also an iPad and also a laptop and also a desktop all in one, it's larger 143 watt power system. They got to have that giant brick hanging out the back.
There's
now.
so much headspace in the M1.
Totally, dude. You forget how good the M1 is.
Better opportunity. I used the M1. I know.
Yeah,
how
you
good
forget
it is.
though.
It's not
You
like
have forgotten.
I know it's good. I'm just saying I would have rather had
no,
an
it's
M1
not
X
good
today.
As The Verge said, or whatever Tim said at Wired, it is incredible. Just like,
but we were all just last week talking about how excited we would be for a M1X.
Sure,
24-inch
but
iMac,
the M1 is still phenomenal.
It's still fine, but it would be
we'll
the same
get
as
it.
an
We'll
iPad
get the
Pro.
M1X at some point. We'll get it in
That's
fall.
a good thing,
It'll
Drew.
be a whole
That's
big event.
How is this a good thing?
Wait, it's a good thing because that shows the ingenuity of the M1 chip. We haven't hit its threshold
I know there's
yet.
ingenuity. We've proven it's capable
I know,
as a
but
desktop.
what I'm saying is that at no point today or since November or October, whenever when the M1 came out, at no point did we hit its headspace yet. We didn't go past its threshold. We have these tests that we run to see what can happen. The limitations that are happening that you get from the MacBook Pro as opposed to the MacBook Air has the fan kicking on, but at no point have we come close to hitting its capacity yet. What they're doing to the
what does hitting
M1 chip,
capacity mean? What do you mean by that?
clocking out these speeds where it can't go any further. It has.
I mean, they all have limits. I mean, like my iMac Pro is faster at exporting. That's a
I give you the best example. The clearest example I can give you is using my iMac in comparison that I had. That it was clocked out just by turning it on at that point. You see what I'm saying? That
well, that's going to happen to any chip after a certain number of years.
The software is so optimized and efficient around that chip now that something comparing Big Sur for Intel and M1 is, we all agree, night and day. And just using Big Sur right now and all that power that's behind the chip, we're not experiencing any lag, latency, delays, and if it is, say like with me trying to do a stream, that has to do with third-party support, not the computer itself. The M1 chip, if they did not renew the M1 chip for another year, we are still good for the next 5 years. Easy.
Definitely. I would buy a 2022 computer with an M1 chip.
Sure. I think you're misunderstanding my point, because I'm not suggesting the M1 is slow and it's outdated now, so we need a new one.
Yeah.
I'm saying we've had it since November. This is a more powerful, higher price, higher end device.
No.
Would you? Is it
It's
not?
not.
Or
No.
you disagree?
The 24-inch
It's not more
iMac
expensive?
replaces the 21. Okay, it's marginally more expensive, but you get a nice 13-inch MacBook Pro. It's going to be around $12.99, right? This
can take it with you.
is not a professional device, Drew. This is what schools are going to buy, stick in their computer labs. This is what
Neither is the Mac Mini at that point. But
okay, I never said the Mac Mini was a professional device.
I know, but I'm saying, would it have have been good for Apple to release a more powerful chip than the M1 at this event? That was all my point.
Sure,
No, I don't
but
think- I
I'm
don't-
happy to
because
wait
you
till
said
November or next year because I'm
November
happy with the M1.
Our event was 5 months ago. I
Yeah.
don't think it's appropriate to release a new chip yet. At this, if you're asking just for this event,
It's not
no.
appropriate?
No.
No, not for 5 months in. A whole
I
new
heard
design.
different things from you guys from the months leading up to this. I heard
Okay,
different things,
Drew,
I
stop.
must
I would
say.
love it if they did, but it doesn't make sense for them to, right?
I mean,
I
if
would
we
be
had an
all on board
M3
with the
chip
M1X
right now,
if they did.
I would
Unders-
take it.
Okay, one at a time. I can't tell what you're saying.
If we had an M3,
Go ahead-
if we
go
had
ahead,
an
Randy.
M3 chip right now, sure, I'll take an M3 over an M1. But if they saying that the M1X or whatever the new number was going to be, M12 or M12, M2 or whatever's going to happen, if we are looking at how they do upgrades outside of iPhones, so with iPads and MacBooks or Mac lines in the past, the M1 was always in my trajectory going to be sticking around for quite some time. And if it's a whole new transition to a new thing, I don't see them introducing a newer model 5 months later. I believe it at the end of the year
We
we
did the
might see
same
an
thing with
M2.
the 8 series.
But that was for iPhone. They have such a quicker turnaround. We
It's
all
Apple
agree.
Silicon.
Macs aren't annual upgrades though. iPhones are. Macs aren't.
no,
we all
but-
agree to that.
There's not one Mac. There's a huge spectrum of Macs that are using all kinds of different components and processors. But the difference, like, we got the A12 chip in when was that? 10R, 10S?
Yes,
Was that when the
Maybe.
A12 came out?
I think so.
A month later, we got A12X.
Okay, so
That's
that's
the naming
for
thing
iPad.
for the iPad.
Taken up.
This iPad.
Yeah,
This
I know. This is the iMac is not a Mac Mini. That's my point. Like, we don't have to have one chip across 80 million different models just because it's fast for one price demographic, opposed to there were a lot of people looking forward to a higher tier of silicon. I recall getting hyped with you guys about it. Like, oh,
Yeah.
But if it
where's
keeps the
M1
price
going to go from
down-
here? It wasn't like, oh, I hope we just get the M1 on something else too. It was
Well,
like,
but,
let's see where else this can go.
We know that getting a newer chip would then probably keep the cost higher. And again, I think our whole ethos of what's happening today is we're not looking at Mac Pros or the 27-inch. We're still looking at base model
No.
things. We haven't got the
Yeah.
16-inch redesign for the MacBook Pro. I think the
No.
stuff that people really want power, the best is yet to come this year. We're still in entry-level
Yeah, I
stuff
just-
today.
I doubt. I don't.
I
understand
100% say
anyone who would make the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Like, no, the fastest chip comes at the very
But no,
beginning.
but
The
there's
slowest
a
chip
reason
comes
why
at the
they didn't
end.
do the whole iMac
Yeah.
line today.
Can you imagine
There's a
how much
reason for
how
that.
much
Yeah.
M1X news would dominate over everything else they released? Like just how much M1 news has
That's not
dominated
a
the
bad
entire
thing to
news
me.
cycle.
I
Okay, it's
agree.
not. It's
I don't
just
think
not the
that's a bad
time.
thing.
Fall is the time for this, Drew. We're gonna get
I
in the fall.
understand
We're
it's
gonna get our
now not the
16-inch
time.
MacBook Pro. We're gonna get the 27-inch iMac. It's gonna be beautiful time with our M1X chips. But as of right now, they didn't want to overshadow the iPad Pro because if they introduced the M1X, we'd all be like, "Well, why doesn't the iPad have an M1X? The iPad used to get like the A14X. Why can't it have the M1X?" And it's
Well,
like,
that's an iPad. It's different. I mean,
Okay.
iPads and iMacs have never like shared the same.
I believe going
chips
forward,
before.
now that we've introduced desktops, all desktop configs and laptops, I think going forward, the higher, the bigger size MacBook and iMac, I believe going forward, we will now start the transition from M1 to whatever, M1X or M2 or whatever it is. We finalized our base model line right here. That quadrant that Nick was talking about, we just finished the consumer side of it today.
Yep.
And that's why I'm not shocked that we didn't get an M1X. It would have been cool to have one, absolutely. But I'm not shocked. We just did baseline things today. We're not done. I mean, we got to update baseline iPhone 12 just for color because nothing today was about professional use. I think professional use makes more sense after we talk about the software in June. Now we can start talking about the bigger designs of everything and what power can do for what's going to pass Big Sur and the new iOS updates and iPad OS. That all makes more sense, but today was all about baseline, and we finished our baseline quadrant of it. Now we're moving into the professional side of things. Mac Pro, 16-inch MacBook Air, 27-inch iMac, and then the new inches of that. Yeah,
I understand that this is the entry model, base model, everything. I was simply because I think I remember us talking about it either last week or the week before about what if they just put an M1 in the iMac, and I remember saying, ooh, that would make the decision really hard because you'd have to choose between, like, do I wait for the X or do I enjoy the new design? Now it's completely turned me away of I don't want an iMac anymore. I don't know what I want now. Probably a Mac Pro at this point. Like,
no,
subjectively,
I know you, Drew.
No, I'm not joking. I'm not joking. This is in my. I understand it's subjective, and you guys like your white bezels, and that's fine. But for me, this is an objective step. Subjective step backwards. I think it is a design that looks worse than my iMac Pro, and it has a chip worse than my iMac Pro. And I get it. It's serving a different market. It's at a lower price point. That's fine. But knowing that iMacs in the lineup between different sizes have never varied much. It's never like, here's the big chin and the white bezels on the small one, and then here's the no chin black bezels on the big. Like, I don't see them doing that. And that makes me think the 32-inch model coming later is probably going to look very similar. Maybe be more epic-looking colors. With black bezels, it'll look very similar to the computer I bought 4 years ago. So that's and design was the driving force with my upgrade. It was like iMac Pro, it's plenty fast.
You want that 16-inch MacBook Pro then, or whatever the 16-inch will be called later this year.
You want to go break into your sister's house, grab your cinema display back, and then plug that into your 16-inch MacBook Pro.
I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying I didn't say MacBook Pro because I don't like having to put everything into a little tower in the I/O and the it's bad. I mean, there's perks to a
Mac
MacBook,
Mini?
but no, because I don't.
You
want
the
something
M1
that's slower.
Cube. I hear you, buddy.
I basically want Nic's Cube. Yeah,
me too.
You are more than welcome to
Everybody
it.
wants it. Basically, that with I want Apple Silicon to be faster than the computer I bought 4 years ago, which to me doesn't seem like asking much. So when I was like, okay, finally we're going to get an updated design, hearing about slimmer bezels, that got me excited that we would get something different or more similar to the iPad Pro. Because just looking at the lineup, I'm on the website now looking at the iMac compared to all the other Macs, even the Apple Silicon ones. It sticks out to me. It looks very out of place. It looks almost like if Google had made a desktop, like having some kind of low color palette.
You went there.
Like not saturated. Nope, it wasn't me. Discord was doing this too. They were making all the memes of like, it looks like it belongs on the Made by Google webpage. Like it has the same color palette.
And it will die on that page too.
Yeah, it will die. And when I see that, I'm just like, yeah, it doesn't look like the same design team that made the Pro Display, that made the
Johnny
MacBooks.
Ive has truly left the building, it seems.
Whoever this guy is, it is not the same.
So, Drew, does this interest you in getting the M1 iPad Pro, since that seems to be the perfect hybrid that can do Mac performance speculatively?
Possibly. Yeah, I'm very curious because they said iPad Pro is my favorite part because I was really hoping it would get M1 and it did, which I'm like,
so you get
finally,
all the
Thunderbolt.
aesthetics of the iPad Pro with the power of a Mac, giving you the applications of a Mac.
The applications is the last piece. I don't consider that confirmed yet because I'm hesitant with that term because Apple sometimes will allude to things. I remember a lot of us last year saying like, oh, well, they did the Mac Mini dev kit with A12Z. That means Final Cut for iPad is coming right around the corner. Here we are. And it's like,
well, we thought AirTags were right around the corner too. So
I know, but that's why I don't use confirmed.
But
I wouldn't
it's
call
fair
it that.
to say that if the software is to be that, you could stream, you could do everything that you would want to do on your Mac on said iPad Pro, then you're like, you know what? Screw all these guys. This is post-PC era. Let's go towards that. Because I'll tell you, that will make me be like, Let me do it right. It will make me do that.
Yeah.
It will make me.
I love the iPad, and what I'm interested in is they're saying that it'll start shipping in the second half of May. So, whenever that day ends up being, I'm hoping
Dub
that
is right there.
14 days from that period, we could get Dub and find out what's coming to the iPad. And if they don't announce the Pro Class software, we'd have time to send it back. If that doesn't end up happening. But if they do announce it, then
That's
be like,
fair.
okay, I'm keeping this. It's for sure. It's solid because it prioritizes all the things I love between the design, the 120
And
hertz, the Face ID.
The genius is you get your touch display that people think, I want a touch screen Mac, but now you got your stylus that you.
There it
like,
is.
This is the genius
It's all
of
together.
it. I'm telling. Ah!
To me, it feels like they listened. Like the Siri remote, the iPad, it felt like they heard what people were asking for and acted on it. And I don't feel that with the iMac at all. I don't see listening with that design. I see we're gonna do something unique and different. Like there were all kinds of wish lists and concepts of what people were hoping it could look like, because they love their iPads and they love the design that's so futuristic and modern in other aspects, whether it be iPhone or iPad. And they said, wouldn't it be amazing if they could bring this to the Mac line, this modernism, instead of this 10-year-old, 12-year-old iMac design? And instead they were like, different, unique. It's different. Nothing looks like this. And now I'm like, there's a reason nothing looks like this.
I would say
So I don't feel listened
the win
there.
of the day from me.
Heard.
I know I joked about the Apple TV controller, but I think the win for today is the M1 iPad Pro. That's my genuine win, subjectively for my preference, because I have all the accessories that already go with it. It's a cheaper upgrade than having to get a brand new keyboard, a brand new pencil, a brand new. It's like I could just swap it out and you get the newer technology and you get the chip that's in it.
Right.
I am Team M1 everything. Or let me rephrase so it doesn't get misconstrued. I am Team M. So
Team
1X,
M.
2, 3,
Team M.
4. If you could put
So
the
you
M
like the
chip,
Intel M5 processor found in the 12-inch MacBook?
disgusting.
Right.
If you could put the M chip,
There's another M5 coming.
1X, 2, whatever, in all things. If it was to replace the A series in iPhones, I would upgrade my phone for that right there on the spot too. So anything that we can get that chip into more products is a win for all of us, because that thing is so darn good. And I'm so excited for it. The iPad is my favorite feature, but I am going to wait until after Dub to see what software comes with it, so that way I can see if, okay, there is Final Cut and Logic, I'm doing it. And if there's not, then that 2018 iPad Pro is still my favorite product, and I'm not losing anything by waiting. So I will hold reservations until after WWDC. I will get the controller, the Apple TV controller, as soon as I can. And the iMac, thank God I got a MacBook regardless, because I'm not in a hurry all the same. Well,
I'm glad you didn't wait for that iMac either.
because honestly, like if me dropping the
Hard
defense
passed.
lawyer, if I'm not playing defense lawyer anymore, I still want a MacBook Pro, a 4-port MacBook Pro with an SD card reader. The Mac that gives me the SD card reader is the Mac that's going to get my money. That's what I want.
I guess that's part of what confused me, is because on one hand we're hearing about bringing back legacy ports on the MacBook Pros, but the iMacs had not ditched the SD card slot yet. That had not been done. There was kind of the argument made that, well, it's a desktop, it doesn't save much space. It's not that hard to accommodate in such a large device. It's even so thin they could have put it on a side or something. To me, there wasn't a justifiable reason for
If you're not going to
IO
ditch the
choices.
headphone jack, you have no business ditching the SD card reader, because there could be
Exactly.
there could be an
It's the same
argument made
argument.
that some people are like, I'm not a creative type, I don't care. Then great. That's why things that don't have a headphone jack don't affect you. I need a headphone
Right.
jack for my Logic productions. I
Right.
need an SD card reader for my video productions. So if you're
Right.
going to keep the headphone jack, it's all or nothing. Headphone equals SD card reader. You ditch the headphone jack with the iPad, and there's no SD card. So I accept the iPad for what it is, as a
And I don't
wireless
get
device.
why they keep old ports on the Mac Mini but not the iMac. To me, doesn't make sense.
It's the direction of the port.
The
The
USB-A
thing
thing
is
is a
only
bit weird.
11 millimeters thin, So they couldn't fit the ports going in that way. They would have had to like stick them on the bottom
Just
or on
do it
the
on the
edge
side.
somewhere.
That
would look ugly.
They're doing it. That's where the headphone jack is.
Okay.
They've
maybe
done
a
it.
lot of people aren't using
So-
headphone. I would use the headphone jack. It's constantly used because that's where I plug in my stuff. But I don't think a lot of people are using headphone jacks anymore.
I don't either.
Yeah.
But I just don't see design consistency. It's like if you're going to say, well, we can't fit the ports on the back, then don't put any ports on the side. Like, pick one or the other. Don't be like, well, headphone jack will keep, but SD card, no, that's too much.
Guys, I'm worried
Even though
about the
it's probably-
27-inch iMac.
Now it's 32-inch. I'm not going to hold out hope for it. I'm going to assume it's going to be just like this. Maybe with different
Do you
color
think
options.
the updated MacBook Pro then will be the one that might bring back legacy ports, or do you think it's just that's a
what
rumor
the
that's
rumors
dead?
were saying.
Do
I
you
don't
believe
think
the
they're
rumors?
dead. I just think that I think that the iMac team is the new guy. They hired someone else that thought they were original and creative.
They
and that's
hired
a
not
There's a
Not
reason
an
why
vision.
Craig didn't come out today to talk about it. He wasn't proud of it.
Yeah, I don't think Craig was proud of it.
He's not putting his
I
name
have to
behind that.
imagine, with how many concepts and renders they had seen for years, what they knew exactly what people wanted, and someone Ryan Johnsoned this iMac and decided we're not going to give the people what they want. We're going to give what we think is right.
Oh, you
And
went
this
there.
guy was like,
And Mark Hamill
"This is
was
what's
mad
right."
about it.
yeah, and I feel like Mark Hamill right now. And whoever's in charge of the 24-inch iMac is probably the same guy in charge of the 27-inch iMac. So the closest hope I have now for an upgrade is probably a Mac Pro and a standalone monitor cheaper than the Pro display, which has been rumored. Make a Pro display with the same mini LED tech you put in the iPad Pro. You know,
Could I
they
not
found a way to
persuade
mainstream it.
you? Could I not persuade you then to just get a refurb Mac Mini as the interim, since it's a great device?
It's slower. I can't justify that. It's objectively slower than my current machine, which means it would slow down
The
my workflow.
MacBook
So
Air
I'd be-
was, but the M1 Mac Mini is about 10% faster than the M1 MacBook Air. Because it has an extra
Well,
GPU core and it has a fan that's
Yeah.
always on.
Well,
So-
I had the higher tier MacBook
Oh,
Air
you
for
did?
one.
Okay.
It had the 8-core. Second of all, the iMac Pro is more than 10% faster. It was like a good 30 to 40% done with exporting before the M1 was. So
What
it would be
codec are you
spending
shooting
money
in?
to slow down. It was still what I'm
H-
shooting at now.
H.264?
So what you're saying is
Yeah.
that it still
Huh.
doesn't
Try H.265.
supersede the iMac Pro that you bought a while back.
I can't justify upgrading if it's going to slow down workflow. That makes no sense to me. Like, as much as I love the M1 and I love what it allows for and I love the affordability of it, replacing
So
a machine that's faster with a machine that's slower.
I'll
Just-
be honest. I did not know that the
what you're
iMac
saying
Pro
is
was
you're
still.
better than us. Okay.
No, I didn't know that the iMac Pro still outperformed the Mac Mini. Because to be fair, my stance, I wasn't justifying you spending money to get a spec'd up version of Mac Mini. I meant base model Mac Mini to hold you over the same way
I thought about it.
The same way
came
MacBook
close.
Air is holding me over. I found the justification for it. I just wondered if that would serve the same purpose for you, but it sounds like it's no need.
Yeah. Your iMac was bottlenecking your production. You needed an upgrade that was across the board better in every metric. And unfortunately, the M1 for me right now is not better in every metric. It's better than most, like real-time playback and Final Cut. It's better in opening application speed, pretty much boot up time. You know, pretty much anything you can measure apart from export times. That's when that Radeon Pro GPU and that 8-core Xeon chip really power through
Sure.
faster than the M1 does. And I came very, very close to just getting an M1 Mac Mini for the sake of I want Apple Silicon and I just want to be up to date. So maybe I should sell my old Mac Mini and just buy a M1 temporarily. But at the end of the day, the more I think about it, it's just like I would be buying a Mac for the sake of wanting to not have an Intel Mac, even though the Intel Mac was faster. It's like it's very difficult to justify. So that's why I was like, I'm really tempted, but I don't think I will. So now the biggest criticism I had of the iMac Pro, only criticism I had of it was the design. That was it. That was like my only issue. The speed was great, the ports were great, camera was great, speakers were fantastic. So coming into the new iMac realm, I was like, they just got to bring it up to the real world like the rest of their lineup. And that's the one thing, in my opinion, they've botched. Like, this doesn't look modern and up to date to me.
You're free to be wrong.
I'm so are you.
Oh,
you
thanks.
are welcome
Thanks.
to appreciate your incorrect opinion. That is fine. I respect that.
Thanks for respecting my respectable opinion, which Randy agrees with, and he inspired. So, you know.
Very inspirational. But iPad is awesome. Just needs some new apps here and there.
No. Hey, I'm having major FaceTime issues. I cannot see Randy.
I cannot see Randy.
We should
either.
probably wrap up
Okay.
as soon as we see Randy again.
Do you want to wait, or should I hang up?
It looks like he hung up. So
Oh, hang on.
let's wrap up. Sorry, Randy.
Randy's got his final words in. Off the record, he told me, yes, the iMac is ugly.
Yes,
but
off the record, he told me that too.
this will be a very interesting Twitter poll.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
All right, I better edit this show. Randy just disappeared again.
Darn.
All right.
It's not me.
Well, it's not you. It's Randy's. Randy's
started.
technical difficulties are still following him around. So,
Maybe someone called him.
yeah, I don't think so.
Possibly.
Because I'm also having issues too.
Oh.
I'm on an iPad now.
Okay.
See you guys. Thanks for joining us. Happy Apple events.
Thank you for watching. See you next week.
Spring loaded.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.